The Trump-Putin summit ends in Alaska with no ceasefire for Ukraine.
There's no deal until there's a deal.
So what happens now? Plus, flight attendants gear up to strike with some support from travelers.
They should want and expect to get paid from the minute they're expected to be on duty.
What Calgary passengers need to know heading into the weekend. And celebrating a milestone anniversary at McMahon Stadium.
Ticket from the first game. There's 20,000 or so people at that game.
65 years of football, concerts, even the Olympics.
It's still doing what it was supposed to do, which was bringing people together.
CTV Calgary, local breaking news with Tara Nelson.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. We begin with breaking news tonight. Donald Trump says there is no deal until there's a deal. A summit between the U.S. president and Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska just ended. The leaders were discussing the war in Ukraine and calls for a ceasefire. Trump said they reached an understanding on ending the war, but there is no word on a ceasefire.
But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team.
Trump says he will now speak with European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to give them an update. Ukrainians around the world, of course, closely watching this high-stakes summit, including those here in Calgary. Terry Fikowski joins us now. So, Terry, what is the Ukrainian-Canadian community making out of what came out of the meeting?
Well, Tara, of course they want the war to end, but don't believe that Putin really wants peace. That's according to the vice president of Calgary's branch of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, who says as these two leaders met today, missiles rained down on Ukraine. Stefania Roniak was among many Ukrainian Canadians glued to their phones for updates from the summit today. Trump and Putin didn't give any indication what was or wasn't agreed to behind closed doors, only saying it was an extremely productive meeting. Roniak says she's watching closely and looking for strong security guarantees and the return of political prisoners, prisoners of war, and abducted children. Now, Putin referred to Ukraine and Russia as brotherly nations. Roniak says that's propaganda and makes it sound like Ukraine is not its own distinct nation. She says the local Ukrainian community is skeptical this meeting will have a positive outcome for Ukraine, given the warm reception between Trump and Putin.
For me, it's a gut punch, and it's sickening. Putin is a war criminal. He's wanted by the International Criminal Court for multiple counts of war crimes. He's greeted with handshakes and smiles. This is a slap in the face of not only Ukrainians, but anybody who believes in simple human dignity. Russia can say all that it wants to, but it's frankly impossible to conduct successful diplomacy when one party simply lies, which is what Russia historically has done.
Again, as for what's next, Trump says he'll be making calls to the head of NATO and to President Zelensky, who was not invited to this meeting. What may not sit well with Zelensky or Ukrainians, though, is while the press conference was wrapping up, Putin suggestively joked in English that the next meeting would be in Russia, which Trump kind of laughed off and said he'd take some heat for it. But, Terry, he didn't outright rule it out.
Okay, Terry Fikowski reporting. Terry, thank you. Calgary's airport is starting to feel the crunch of the labor dispute at Air Canada, with flight attendants poised to strike and hundreds of flights about to be grounded. Some travelers think the strike is worthwhile despite the headaches. Calgary-based WestJet has also announced it's preparing to add staff and aircraft in response. Stephanie Thomas has the latest from YYC.
Calgary air travelers spent most of Friday watching flight status boards and refreshing their emails, waiting for word if their Air Canada flights would be cancelled.
I was watching it on my phone, the news coverage of it, whether my flight would be cancelled or not.
My wife is pregnant, she has a disease, she needs some medication adjusted, so might be critical.
Earlier this week, the union representing Air Canada flight attendants demanded a wage increase to match increased living expenses and to be paid for work-related duties before and after a flight. Negotiations were deadlocked most of Friday.
We're just waiting for the employer to respond to us and try to get this resolved.
The union has rejected binding arbitration and wants an agreement to come from the bargaining table. A survey paid for by the affected flight attendants union found a majority of Canadians support their side at 59%, with just 12% sympathizing with the airline. It also found that nearly 9 out of 10 Canadians agreed flight attendants should be paid for duties performed outside the aircraft.
despite recognizing that this is going to create a lot of disruption both for individuals and perhaps for the country, that the workers have the better position and people feel good about supporting them at this moment.
I think that it's fair to say that they should want and expect to get paid from the minute they're expected to be on duty. So I agree with that. It's unfortunate.
I do feel like not getting paid for the hours they're working before, like the actual flight, is kind of strange to me.
Calgary-based WestJet says it's prepared to onboard an influx of passengers by adding more staff, larger aircraft, and even more flights in some cases. Details are limited. But one former WestJet flight attendant says this labor dispute may not be the last.
Then other airlines, specifically WestJet, are probably going to be forced to do the same before their flight attendant's contract is up in December.
And Stephanie joins us from the airport tonight. Okay, so Stephanie, if you have an Air Canada flight booked in the next few days, what should you be expecting to see?
Tara, according to Air Canada's website, you can expect to receive a text message or an email about your affected departure before it takes off. Now, if you don't receive a notification directly from the airline, then check with the person who made the booking. As well, if you booked with an online agency or a travel agency, work with them because they'll also be able to help you in the event of your flight being canceled. Now, the airline does say that it will do its best to rebook the next available flight, but admits that it is also the busy summer travel season and that spaces may be limited. So Air Canada says that a refund is also an option. But one air passenger rights expert I spoke with tells me that travelers should be cautious if they take a refund, because if you still need to travel, new travel plans may be harder to find and may become more expensive due to increased demand. Tara.
Okay, good information, Stephanie. Thank you.
You're watching CTV News, Calgary.
The fall migration period for birds is underway, which means millions of species will be flying through Alberta over the next few months. The pass-through can be dangerous for birds, so conservationists are asking Calgarians to make one small change to help them out. Tim Brooke explains.
To most humans, it's a beautifully lit cityscape worth taking a photo of. But other species look at it a little differently.
Birds get distracted. Ooh, shiny, and they turn their way into the city. And once the birds are in the city, a number of things can happen.
The fall migratory season for birds has kicked off, and our lights can lead to a dangerous turn.
They might see those interior lights and think it looks like a nice open forest, and they see the surrounding windows and think that's the trees they need to avoid, so they might fly directly into that light.
More than 16 million birds die from window strikes every year in Canada, and this year has already been more deadly than usual, largely thanks to a change in weather patterns causing an early migration.
Between August 9th and 13th last year, we had 11 birds, and the same time period this year, we've had 38. So even if you look at that small window of time, it's much, much higher than last year.
So a simple request. Conservationists want Calgarians to switch off their lights each night from 11 o'clock to 6 a.m. That will help birds differentiate between pass-throughs and obstacles.
It is the easiest thing in the world to do. Just flip a switch and it's going to make a huge difference.
There are also simple daytime changes that could protect migrating species.
So now is a really critical time to people to mark their windows to prevent them from being death sentences for the birds migrating. But the markings have to be close together, 2 inches apart, like we have on the window here.
And Tim joins us now. Tim, conservationists also want to see more bird-friendly cities.
Yes, Tara, and that may sound a little bit daunting, but the reality here is just a few simple design changes could go a very long way into helping millions of migrating birds every single year. As you heard there, window markings on the outside of panes is a great place to start, especially on tall downtown buildings and on plus 15s. The Bird-Friendly Calgary website has some great tips on how to properly do those window markings. And Tara, it also just has some great tips on how to make sure your entire property is safe for all the species that fly on through.
Okay, Tim, thank you. Let's bring Danielle in now for our first peek at the forecast. How's our weekend shaping up?
Oh, it looks really good, Tara. Actually fantastic. So it won't be excessively hot. It won't be really cool. We're not looking at a ton of rain. It will take a bit of time to get some sunshine, but when we get it, you'll really appreciate it, I'm sure. 21 degrees is the temperature at the airport right now. We do have a good amount of cloud cover. You can expect this cloud cover to remain tonight and through tomorrow morning as well. But after about 4 in the afternoon, we should turn to mainly sunny skies, and that should get us up to 25 degrees. More weekend details coming up, Tara.
Thank you, Danielle. As Global Fest continues in Elliston Park, a new structure is marking a special partnership, a teepee transfer, signifying a 15-year partnership between Global Fest and both Siksika Nation and the Blackfoot Crossing Historical Park. Global Fest has partnered with Blackfoot Crossing on a number of Indigenous events through the years to mark truth and reconciliation. The teepee transfer is seen as a major step forward.
So we are now, Global Fest is now part of the Blackfoot family. This definitely is a big symbol of it to show that we've condoned the partnership, but that we've also accepted them as Blackfoot people.
Global Fest fireworks shows continue until August 23rd at Elliston Park, with Malaysia up next on Saturday. Some of the biggest names in country music are in town this weekend. Country Thunder is on now at the Confluence Historic Site.
If you hear me telling my side of the story.
Avriana is on stage right now. She is a singer-songwriter from Flagstaff, Arizona. Some of the biggest names in country music are part of this year's lineup. Cody Johnson and Tim Hicks perform later tonight. Other acts this weekend include Bailey Zimmerman, Old Dominion, and Riley Green. Just ahead, a Calgary pastor loses his job after he is charged with voyeurism. Victory Churches of Canada says Brad Dewar has been dismissed as police investigate. And a milestone anniversary for McMahon Stadium. We look back on 65 years at the center of Calgary's sports and entertainment. And if you have a news tip for us, you can text us anytime at 10-400. Center Street at 12th Avenue Northwest is closed in both directions this hour for a serious crash between a motorcycle and a vehicle. It happened around 4 o'clock. Paramedics transported the motorcyclist in critical condition to Foothills Hospital. Police say the driver of the SUV involved remained on scene and was unharmed. Drivers are being asked to use alternate routes while police investigate. A Calgary pastor charged with voyeurism has been dismissed from his church rolls. Police allege Brad Dewar met women through his church and captured intimate images of them at his home without their consent. The 68-year-old is listed as the secretary of Victory Churches International and was the former dean of the Victory Bible College. At least 3 victims have been identified. Victory Churches of Canada says it immediately dismissed Dewar from all roles within the church. Police have released an AI-generated image of a man found dead near the Bow River last year in hopes of identifying him. Police say traditional methods for identifying the man have not worked, so they're hoping this image will help. His body was discovered in March of 2024. He was wearing a pair of brown hiking boots with black and orange soles. He is believed to be between the ages of 55 and 70. An autopsy determined the death was not suspicious. Police want to hear from anyone who may recognize him. A candidate for the Ward 9 councillor seat in the upcoming municipal election says dozens of his campaign signs have been stolen.
Basically, we start seeing it one missing, 2. So over the span of a couple of nights, that's where we start saying, okay, this is not just a coincidence.
Candidate Gargar says between 75 and 100 of his signs have been stolen from front lawns, and it is in multiple neighborhoods. He's asking people to let the democratic process play out and not steal signs. Bearspaw First Nation says a TP canvas was stolen 2 nights ago from its display along the Trans-Canada Highway west of Callaway Park. The nation has now taken down the remaining 3 TPs as a precaution. You can call RCMP or Stoney Tribal Security if you have any information on that theft.
This is CTV News Calgary.
Let's bring Danielle back in now as we get our weekend forecast.
Yes, and you know what? We've gotten closer to normal here.
We have no mic from Danielle. We're going to come back to her in a moment. The Confederacy of Treaty 6 First Nations is applying for intervenor status in an upcoming judicial review. Yesterday, a judge ruled a referendum question on Alberta separation must have its constitutionality scrutinized. The ruling means the separatist group Alberta Prosperity Project cannot collect signatures to get its question on a ballot until after the review. In a statement, the Confederacy says, "We will continue our unchanging opposition to separatist rhetoric and the idea that Alberta could consider separating from Canada," adding, "The push for separation is a direct violation of treaty, which are sacred and legally binding commitments." Chiefs with Treaty 8 met with Premier Danielle Smith and some of her cabinet in Slave Lake today. Grand Chief Trevor McMahon was asked about his Treaty 6 peers' decision to intervene in the review.
We commend them for that. We are looking at other areas as well, whether we legally challenge it or not. The problem with these bills, a lot of times, they haven't impacted our rights yet.
Chief McMahon says his group discussed many topics with the Premier and ministers, like the importance of partnering with First Nations at the beginning of major energy projects. He's also pressing the government to give First Nations more agency in areas like healthcare, children and family services, and environmental stewardship. The Calgary Host Committee for the North American Indigenous Games is speaking out after the right to host the Games in 2027 was taken away. It's blaming Tourism Calgary in part for the failure. Last week, the Games Council announced it was retracting Calgary's hosting rights, saying critical benchmarks were not met. The celebration of sport and culture was supposed to bring 5,000 athletes from across the continent to Calgary. Today, the local host society issued a statement saying it faced shifting requirements and unreasonable demands. It says Tourism Calgary withheld operational funding from the City of Calgary, leaving the society without needed resources. The society calls the actions a step backward for reconciliation in sport and culture. Tourism Calgary says the society did not meet key milestones and conditions, but it did not give specifics. Today marks 65 years since the Calgary Stampeders played their first game at McMahon Stadium. For decades, the stadium has been at the heart of Calgary's sports scene, hosting legendary victories, world-class events, and unforgettable cultural moments. Mark Villani takes a look back at the stadium's place in history.
The year was 1960 when construction crews broke ground on a massive structure near what was then the edge of Calgary. Built in just 103 days, McMahon Stadium was born thanks to a $300,000 investment from brothers George and Frank McMahon.
I was 6 years old when the stadium was opened up. I remember that it was really exciting, and it was kind of mind-blowing, to be quite honest.
It's always sort of been like the place, right? It's been the place where you feel like you kind of almost made it.
Back then, the Calgary Stampeders were the biggest attraction in town, and CFCN television showed many of the games live, but it wasn't always touchdowns and celebrations over the years. The Save Our Stamps campaign in 1986 helped to sell thousands of season tickets to keep the team alive.
Without that support, the club might not have made it.
Stan Schwartz was McMahon Stadium's manager for nearly a decade. He led upgrades for the Queen's visit in 1990 and the world-famous 1988 Winter Olympic ceremonies.
60, 70, 80-hour weeks, leading up to the Olympics. A real challenge, but I think most people enjoyed the experience.
McMahon Stadium is a hub of Calgary's community spirit, hosting halftime spectacles, along with rodeo performances and displays of Indigenous culture. It's the site of famous concerts and the 1997 World Police and Fire Games. Today, it's home to the UFC Dinos and the Calgary Wild FC pro women's soccer team.
Program from the very first game at McMahon Stadium.
But some historians still like to look back on the good old days.
I just started collecting programs from every game, and I got team pictures from almost every year, individual player pictures, and all kinds of footballs, jerseys, helmets.
Historical items like this 1960s team banner, an old Stampeders doll, the inaugural Stamps jersey, bumper stickers, even a candy dish to commemorate the stadium's opening. Over the years, McMahon has seen its share of facelifts, from a new scoreboard, upgraded turf, and an expanded concourse, but some think it's time for a replacement.
I think it's terrible. I do.
And while there's no plan yet for the building's future, the McMahon family hopes its legacy continues, including next year when Calgary hosts the 2026 Grey Cup.
The fact that it is still here is a great testimony to how well it was built.
I don't know that Granddad knew that in 65 years the stadium would still be standing. It's still doing what it was supposed to do, which was bringing people together.
Mark Villani, CTV News, Calgary.
And we have much more on McMahon Stadium's history on our website. All right, let's go back to Danielle. We got those microphone issues sorted, so
Yes.
give us a peek at our weekend.
It was my fault. We already went off on, it's Friday, it's the weekend. We made it to the weekend, though. That's the key thing. And temperatures are really where they should be right now. And we're going to climb a little higher for the weekend, but it's not going to be excessively hot or really cool. We're not looking at super windy weather in the city either. We're really just looking at nice, reasonable, stable weather as we head through the weekend, and the clouds will clear out somewhat soon. Okay, 21 degrees is the temperature in Calgary at the moment. Mid-20s in through Brooks and Medicine Hat, Lethbridge. It's a little windier further to the south, and we're looking at getting even a little windier Medicine Hat through over to Pincher Creek for tomorrow. So gusts up to 60 kilometers possible there. But for Calgary, it should be calm, just maybe a little breezy at times. Okay, you can see what's headed towards us, but for the most part, the mountains will keep all of the moisture on the BC side, and we're certainly going to get more cloud cover filtering in tonight and through much of tomorrow, but a lot of the rainfall will stay off to the west. Now, in the overnight hours, we could pick up a little bit of rainfall in Calgary and down Highway 2, up QE2, but that's in the overnight hours. I mean, if you're sleeping at 2 a.m. By tomorrow morning, mainly cloudy skies for much of southern Alberta, Calgary included, but after 4 in the afternoon, that's when things will start to clear out. The sun will start to peek through, and then that will warm temperatures to the mid-20s for tomorrow. Also, we're looking at the sunshine continuing right through Sunday and through much of early next week as well. So when you look at your Action Furnace 5-day forecast, you're looking at mid-20s for tomorrow, 25 degrees, a good chunk of sunshine later in the day, so after 4. Then that sunshine continues in through Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and that will allow temperatures to climb even a little further. So 26 degrees for Sunday and Monday, and high 20s by the time we get into Tuesday. Tara?
Thank you, Danielle. Just ahead, a cross-Canada bike ride raising Parkinson's awareness. A 2-month cross-country bike ride supporting research into a currently incurable disease. And the illnesses from E. coli at the Saskatoon farm top 100. The latest from AHS tonight. Alberta Health Services says the number of E. coli cases believed to be linked to the restaurant at the Saskatoon farm is now more than 100. On Thursday, AHS says there were 107 probable laboratory cases of E. coli. 68 people also tested positive for a secondary parasite. So far, 4 people have been hospitalized, but 3 have been released. AHS ordered the restaurant to close on July 23rd after dozens of people who dined at the facility became ill. AHS has said the facility's water supply is the likely source of the gastrointestinal outbreak. The Cove Beach area of Chestermere Lake has been cleared by Alberta Health Services after a week-long advisory there. The site was placed under an advisory last week after fecal bacteria levels rose higher than what's considered acceptable. However, over the past week, those levels have dropped, and AHS says the water is now fine to swim in. A group of Canadian cyclists has set out on a 2-month, 6,000-kilometer bike tour to raise awareness about Parkinson's disease. The riders left Victoria 2 weeks ago and are now cruising around and through Calgary. As Tim Brooke explains, it's a way to destigmatize the disease and to keep themselves healthy.
Lloyd Taylor is leading a peloton like no other this summer.
Some days we're as few as 2 riders cycling down a lonely road. Some days we're as many as 200.
The Torontonian is heading up the Spinning Wheels Tour, a 2-month ride that'll cross 10 provinces and hit 3 Canadian coasts, all for the fight against Parkinson's.
The disease really makes you retreat, curl up in a ball, stay on the couch, and yet the opposite is what's needed.
Taylor has Parkinson's disease. It's a neurological condition that causes tremors and other health issues. 110,000 other Canadians have it too. People like Denise Lawson, who joined the tour this week after being moved by the mission. Everyone has a story, and hope.
I've been living with it for 14 years. Being active is so important to manage your symptoms well, and being in a community really, really helps.
This group started in Victoria. They'll cover more ground in Alberta and Saskatchewan before some break off and make the trek north to Churchill, Manitoba.
The scenery is wonderful, but it's the people, and we meet them every single day. People are so kind.
The ride hopes to raise awareness and about $200,000 for disease research and community programming. It'll be passed out to local Parkinson's programs in places these riders visit.
Cause and a cure, as well as ways to alleviate symptoms or stop the progression of Parkinson's.
And believe it or not, the biking itself is helping that too.
I got on the bike and the symptoms all disappeared, and I phoned my wife at the end of the day. I said, you can't believe it. I rode all day, the symptoms are gone. She said, well, then you better keep riding.
The tour wraps up next month in Toronto. Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
That's awesome. To learn more about the Spinning Wheels Tour and the work being done by Parkinson Canada, you can visit our website, ctvnews.ca/Calgary. Pretty nice afternoon for a round of golf in Water Valley. We'll take you to a tournament there for veterans today and the work being done to support them in times of crisis. That's next. Veteran Hunters is a nonprofit organization that helps veterans, active duty members, and first responders find peace through outdoor adventures. Today, members and supporters teed off at Water Valley Golf Course to raise funds for the charity's programs. Jacqueline Wilson reports.
Todd Heisey served in the Canadian Army for 22 years. It left him with post-traumatic stress disorder and searching for help.
In 2018, after 6 years of trauma treatment, the government decided that I couldn't return to a civilian workplace. And so we looked at across the country where there might be an organization that I could volunteer with as a veteran and help other veterans and first responders going through their mental health journey and doing so in the outdoors. And we didn't find anything.
It compelled him and his wife Patricia to create Veteran Hunters.
I, having been through my own mental health journey, are best equipped to help my brothers and sisters go through theirs. So everyone who volunteers with us, including all the programs that we offer with the Veteran Hunters, are all peer-led.
Being in the outdoors can be very therapeutic, and for these veterans and first responders, it's meant to bring a sense of belonging to overcome trauma together.
I think it's really important to support our veterans. I think it's really important to be there for people who are willing to give it all and left their home in the comfort of what's familiar to go to the unfamiliar for the cause of our country and the freedoms we get to have every day. It's the greatest act of love, I think, is defending another.
Friday's golf tournament at Water Valley Golf Course will help raise money for future outdoor adventures and programs.
So we use the hunting or fishing, and it really is the hook to get our brothers and sisters connected with us in outdoor settings. And as a veteran brother of mine once said, the healing begins in the truck. So driving out to the ranch is where the healing really begins, when we start to talk.
Opening up to heal wounds left by their sacrifices. Jacqueline Wilson, CTV News, Water Valley.
And for more information about Veteran Hunters or to donate to the organization, you can visit veteranhunters.com. All right, we're going to kick things off with a kind of catty Canadian cover band.
Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. Tired of living like a blind man. I'm sick aside without a sense of feeling.
I wasn't kidding, you guys. This is Nickel Cat.
Nickel Cat.
Tribute to the Alberta band. Yeah. They have everything you want in a band, though. I mean, they got a lead singer. They got all the positions.
Quite talented.
They have some very good dance moves, a little rock and roll attitude. Yeah.
Perfect to kick it off.
I know.
The weekend.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
think it was the one in the red scarf that was really doing the grooving.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that really kind of got everybody into it. Yeah.
That's the move.
Tourists at Loch Ness had to do a double take after spotting something strange in the water. Okay, it wasn't Nessie, it was Domino's making the world's first submarine pizza delivery. The historic sub can reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers an hour, you guys, and jump 5 meters out of the water. This is the latest stunt from the chain behind the world's first robot delivery dog and, of course, the pothole-proof delivery bike. How would you feel if that thing came at you? Pretty cool.
I'd like to have that job in delivery.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be kind of
fun. It would be fun, yeah.
You know?
Well, finally, we want to roll into the weekend, kind of like this guy.
Oh, hey.
Just say when.
Yeah,
this guy swapped his car tire for a wheel of Parmesan cheese. Just say when. Just press the gas.
Keep
Mamma
going.
Mia, all the fromage you want. I don't know why he's putting all that cheese on his salad. I mean, get me a bowl of pasta already.
Yeah, right?
All of it. Put it on everything.
Exactly. Come on.
Nice work.
Well, still to come, another trade threat from Donald Trump. This time he's targeting the semiconductor sector, what that means for Canada.
All right, here's your Skywatch weather cam. We had a good amount of cloud cover out there today. That will continue through much of tomorrow, but the sun will peak out in the later afternoon hours, and then we're looking at a decent stretch of sunny, hot weather. I mean, if you work outside, then you've been thankful for the relatively cooler temperatures we had this week, probably. But if you're looking for lake, beach, river weather, well, that's coming in a bit. By Sunday especially. 21 degrees, daytime high, current temperature fairly close to our normal of 23, so around where we should be for this time of year. Cooler off, as you can see, in BC in the teens, and off into Saskatchewan, as you can see in the teens. In Edmonton, only got to 13 today. So we're starting to warm up from the south up here as this ridge of high pressure starts to stabilize us and starts to help our temperatures climb. And we'll climb a little further for the weekend as well. Right now, we're those mid-20s for Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Brooks, lower 20s for Calgary and Drumheller, and much cooler often through Banff and up to Edmonton, where they are in the teens. Radar and satellite imagery showing you the next wave of rainfall that looks like it's on the way, but the mountains will hold a lot of this rainfall off onto the BC side. We'll still have the cloud cover creep in. We will have a couple isolated showers tonight while we're sleeping. Less likely to see any of that tomorrow, just the clouds. So here's your 24-hour forecast brought to you by Action Furnace. Fix right where it's free. And tomorrow morning, yes, some cloud cover that should mainly be cleared out by about 4 in the afternoon. 25 degrees is what we'll get to. So later in the day, you can expect to see some sunshine in the city. All right, Kamloops 27 for tomorrow. Fernie and Golden will likely see some showers. Cranbrook as well. And Rocky Mountain House, you may catch a little bit of that activity too. 22 and mainly cloudy in Edmonton. And then while this shows thunderstorm activity in Calgary, you can ignore that because we are looking at just some cloud cover for the day. So stable day, sunshine later in the day. And then 28 for Drumheller. And again, just mainly cloudy for a big chunk of the day tomorrow, but it should be pretty reasonable out there. Look at that 10-day trend. As you can see, it will be warm for the next 4 days. In fact, by Tuesday of next week, we'll be in those higher 20s. Tara?
Thank you, Danielle. The Trump-Putin summit in Alaska has ended with no peace agreement for Ukraine. The leaders provided few details on their talks, with Putin saying they hammered out an understanding and Trump saying there's no deal until there's a deal. We are hours away from a potential strike by Air Canada flight attendants. WestJet says it's prepared to onboard an influx of stranded Air Canada passengers. And conservationists are asking Calgarians to switch off their lights from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. to protect migrating bird species this fall. The province says Alberta Health Services has reached a settlement for a new collective agreement with some healthcare workers. Contract negotiations have been going on for over a year between the Health Sciences Association of Alberta and AHS. It includes a 12% general wage increase over 4 years. The union is recommending the tentative agreement, and voting starts at the end of the month. The HSAA represents around 29,000 healthcare professionals. Premier Danielle Smith said she was confused about a new government expense policy. It removes the requirement for herself, ministers and political staffers to publicly share receipts for expenses of more than $100.
The issue that the cabinet discussed was that there are a number of my ministers who go to the same hotels when they're frequenting different municipalities, and they just wanted the name of the hotel redacted, just in case people were tracking them down and following. That was what the policy was supposed to be. It turned out to be something quite different.
Smith was speaking at an Alberta Next forum in Edmonton last night. The new expense policy came into effect just before the August long weekend. Smith says she will be discussing it with her cabinet on Tuesday to figure out what happened and plan for a reversal. On his way to Alaska, U.S. President Donald Trump dropped another trade threat, this time on the semiconductor sector, which supports more than 120,000 Canadian jobs. CTV's Rachel Aiello now on what that could mean for this country.
Donald Trump says he's about to send tariffs on semiconductors climbing. Aboard Air Force One, the U.S. president said that either next week or the week after, he'll be taking new trade action against the microchips that help power virtually all electronic devices.
We're going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build, and very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Today, the Canadian sector, which does big business south of the border, said Trump's threat could have big implications, not only for consumers, but the country as a whole.
Semiconductors underpin the entire innovation economy. And if you're not able to access semiconductors, you're not actually able to be sovereign in the ways that we mean it in the 21st century.
With another sector now bracing for Trump's impact, new polling indicates anxiety over the state of Canada-U.S. relations is skyrocketing. Nanos' latest numbers show that in the last month, Trump and the state of trade talks overtook the economy and jobs as the top national issue of concern.
Knowing that as time goes by and as Canadian jobs are at risk because of this trade uncertainty, that there will be increasing pressure for the government, not just to get some sort of deal and to bring stability to the relationship, but to also help industries that are currently suffering as a result of Donald Trump.
Nick Nano said that while the Liberals still have a sizable advantage over the other parties in the polls, succeeding or failing on the Trump file is shaping up to be the first defining test for Prime Minister Mark Carney. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
The housing market in Calgary is starting to open up with more homes for sale. The Calgary Real Estate Board says there were more than 3,900 new listings on the market last month. That's up nearly 9% from last year. Sales declined 11% in July. As more homes come on the market, prices are starting to decline. The residential benchmark price in Calgary last month was $582,000, down 3.9% from the month before. The steepest price drops are in apartments and row-style homes. Let's check the Friday market numbers now. The TSX closed the week down 10 points just to 27,905. The Dow was up 35 points to 44,946. The Canadian dollar was down marginally to 72.36 US. Crude oil was down 82 cents to 63.14 a barrel, and Alberta's oil Western Canadian Select was down 78 cents to 50.33. Some good news for the Cavalry. A star player is back with his old club, and his teammates welcomed him with open arms. Glenn has that story for us next. NFL legend Deion Sanders sported a Calgary Stampeders hat yesterday, creating a buzz among CFL fans. Sanders is head coach of the University of Colorado. He wore the hat in honor of Stampeders rookie punter Mark Vassett, who played in Colorado and visited Sanders at practice there this week. Vassett was selected 10th by the Stamps in the 2025 CFL Global Draft and has appeared in 4 games so far this year. Round 1 of the Rogers Charity Classic is now in the books. Glenn is back with us, and Glenn, we saw some pretty low scores out there today.
Tara, the course is pretty soft with all the rain that we've had, and for these guys, that makes for primetime scoring conditions. Tommy Two Gloves Gainey qualified to play in the Rogers Charity Classic on Tuesday. Has a chance to take the lead on the par 5 13th. Gainey, no mistake here, gets to 5 under par. But the solo lead, it didn't last very long. Shane Birch has this putt to equal him on the par 3 16th. Terrific putt there from Birch. He has a share of the lead at 5 under. All right, what about Ricardo Gonzalez? What a run he had on the back 9. This for his 4th straight birdie. He drains it, gets to a 3-way tie for the lead at 5 under. Miguel Angel Jimenez is having a great season, leads the Charles Schwab Cup standings. Here he is on the par 3 16th, and he'll drop that one for the bird. Jimenez takes the lead 7 under par. One of the best stories this week, Calgary's Wes Martin got into the field by winning the qualifier. He ends up shooting a 3 under 16 67. Just missed that birdie putt on 9. What a great story he is. Martin, top Canadian. Great round for him. Mike Weir, even par. Stephen Ames struggled to a 1/71. Jimenez with the lead with Stephen Alker heading into round 2. Both those golfers ended up at 7 under par. Calgary FC back in action on Sunday as they take on Vancouver FC. It's been a tough stretch of late for Cavalry, but a familiar face is bound to help. Dan Klump is back, and Cavalry FC couldn't be any happier. After helping Cavalry win the league championship last season, Klump decided he wanted to try his luck overseas and signed with a team in Belgium. Unfortunately, things didn't work out.
I explored my options a little bit after my contract ran out 1st of July this year. And nothing interesting came up that was better than coming back here. So that explains my reasoning for being here again.
Klump says he's happy to be back in Calgary and wants to help Cavalry in any way he can. He signed with the team through 2027.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels good. It feels like home, like I've said before. And yeah, just happy to get back starting again and get my fitness back and hopefully try and help the team win some more games.
The timing of bringing Klump back couldn't be any better for Cavalry. In their last 4 games, they have 3 losses and a draw. Adding a 2-time CPL Defender of the Year can only help.
When you take Tom Brady out of the New England Patriots, things are different, right? He's the quarterback. Dan has very much been, over the past few seasons, a very important part of the way we play, with the ball, without it, and challenge him for trophies, both individual and collective.
So the big question, will Klump be in the lineup on Sunday against Vancouver?
Yeah, like I said, it's been some time that I've trained with the team, and yeah, like we're about to see today how it's going to happen and how I'm feeling. And if I can, maybe looking at Tommy right now, if I can be available for this weekend. But yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming.
We certainly didn't have him come to sit in the stands with the fans. He'll be in the 18, whether that's in the 11 or coming into the game to finish. That'll be decided over the next 48 hours.
Kickoff for Sunday's game, 5 o'clock at Atco Field. Well, the season continues for the Calgary Surge. The Surge went up against the Edmonton Stingers in a play-in game. The winner, they'd go on to face Vancouver in the Western Conference Final. The loser, they would pack their bags and go home. Close one between those two teams, but the Surge would pull it off with the target score of 103. Jameer Nelson, the junior, gets the job done, slams home that winning basket, beat the Stingers 103-95, so they go on to face the Bandits next Saturday afternoon.
Go Calgary. How exciting. That's awesome. Thanks, Glenn. So our weekend forecast is looking pretty good.
Yeah, you know, really reasonable, I think is the way to explain it for this weekend. Yeah, we'll still have the cloud cover through much of Saturday, but later in the afternoon around 4, it should be all sunshine. 25 degrees is our high for tomorrow, and then 26 and mainly sunny skies for Sunday. So that's a pretty nice weekend ahead for us, and we'll hold on to the sun even as we carry into early next week for Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures will even get a little warmer, high 20s by Tuesday. All right, weather window brought to you by Lux Windows and Doors, crafting quality windows and doors for your style, budget, Alberta's climate. And Elizabeth Ewan sent this in from Northwest Calgary. This is a double rainbow from Wednesday. I'm not sure if you saw it. I did see it as well.
Did you when you were driving home?
Yeah, but I didn't get a cool picture like Elizabeth. So thank you very much for sending that in.
See, that's the reward for all the rain. Yeah. When the rainbow comes out. It's a beautiful
right
shot.
Over the houses. Stunning.
Thanks for your company tonight. Have a great weekend. For breaking news anytime, go to our website.